forward to our working relationship in the near future. And
we appreciate your presentation, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I saw Ms. Buchanan come in. That is, this is a due pass members, AB 841 on VoIP and telecommunications.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm pleased to present AB 841, which will require the California Public Utilities Commission to require interconnected voice over Internet protocol service providers to collect and remit universal service surcharges on their California intrastate revenues. As the committee analysis states, there will be no additional administrative costs to the PUC under this bill. Universal service has long been an important public policy objective on both the federal and state level. The Federal Communications Commission already requires interconnected VoIP service providers to contribute to the federal universal service funds. In 2008, SB 1040 by Madam Chair, established similar standards to require VoIP providers to collect the state emergency 9/11 surcharge. Contribution by interconnected VoIP providers at the state level will help to ensure the current universal service system is uniform, equitable, and most importantly, competitively neutral. This bill passed the Senate Energy, Utilities and Utilities and Communications Committee with bipartisan support. There is no opposition, and I urge your aye vote.
Thank you. We'll go to your witnesses.
Madam Chair, I'm Martha Johnson. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Martha Johnson representing AT&T. AT&T is pleased to sponsor and support AB 841.
Thank you. Next, please.
Madam Chair, members, Bernie Orozco on behalf of the California Cable and Telecommunications Association. We are in support of the continued funding of the universal service programs as customers continue to migrate to newer technologies. This is a bill that is necessary. Thank you.
move the bill.
And Senator Emerson moves the bill, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
According to the PUC, the bill would have no fiscal impact on state operations or on revenues.
All righty, we have a motion. Any comments? We'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Aye. Emerson, aye. Liu? Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Price? Runner? Steinberg?
5-0. We will. That bill is out. We'll leave it open for Steinberg. But members should be in the room. I'm not leaving it open for absent members who've been here, folks. We have no other committees in session. So other than Steinberg, the roll is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buchanan. Mr. Allen, AB 1042. AB 1042, whenever you're ready. Welcome,
yes,
sir.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, AB 1042 is a good governance bill that will enable the California Public Employees Retirement System Board of Administration to appoint and set the compensation for their chief financial officer. Recently, CalPERS undertook a comprehensive evaluation of its organizational structure and identified the need for a new CFO position that reports to the chief executive officer. Adding an experienced individual will help CalPERS achieve a higher level of transparency and provide tighter internal controls for the system's financial operations. This measure has met with affirmative votes all the way through the process. I have with me today Danny Brown with the CalPERS Office of Government Affairs to testify.
We'll go to your witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. This legislation is an important step to ensure that CalPERS can hire a high-caliber person with finance investment experience, and for the purposes of improving CalPERS financial management. And so we ask for your aye vote.
Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? We have, in finance, we'll hear from you, and then we do identify some costs in the bill, Mr. Allen, so it meets the suspense criteria, but we'll work with you on it while it's there. Finance?
Yeah. Madam Chair, members of the committee, the Department of Finance is opposed to this bill because it would circumvent the Department of Personnel Administration's salary setting authority, and having multiple state agencies setting salaries for different positions would be would set a fiscal policy precedent that the Department of Finance does not agree with. Additionally, the bill would result in increased compensation costs of up to $190,000.
All righty. Members, any comments? This is a candidate for suspense. If there's no objection, it will go there. Mr. Allen, thank you. We'll work with you while it's on suspense.
I'd just like to add the comment that...
You certainly may.
Yeah, that while it is headed for suspense, I'd ask the committee to consider the cost of hiring a CFO at a competitive salary. The cost will be offset by savings generated by the higher standard of organizational financial accountability. And so I do think this deserves your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members in the front row. Mr. Wagner. Okay, we're going back to those items from which presentation has been waived, and we're at where, Mr. Wagner? Yes. AB 810, bottom of page 2. This is AB 810 having to do with court translators. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to testify in favor or against the bill? AB 810. Public testimony? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
The judicial branch has indicated to Finance that there would be no fiscal impact as a result of this bill.
All right. It is going to suspense, nevertheless. We'll work with Mr. Wagner while it's there. There is one item by Ms. Campos that is that she's waived presentation on. That is AB 973, trial courts, budgets, and public notice. Trial courts, budget, and public notice. Is there any testimony from the public on that, for or against? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
The judicial branch indicates that the trial courts would incur ongoing administrative costs. While the judicial branch does not know what the costs will be, they indicate that if each of the trial courts expended up to $2,000 every year to provide notice and conduct hearings, the increase in statewide costs would be $100,000 annually. We note that the requirements to conduct the public hearings would not become effective until January 1, 2015. The Department of Finance is opposed to this bill because it would result in additional general fund costs that are not included in the current budget.
All right. That is AB 973 by Campos. It's going to the suspense file. Waiving presentation, we have AB 906 by Ms. Galgiani, the Witness Protection Confidentiality Bill. Any public testimony on AB 906, for or against? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
The measure would likely result in significant additional general fund costs that are not included in the 2011-12 budget. It is not clear how many additional participations would be added to the program. The Secretary of State estimates approximately $200,000 annually would be needed to provide 2 additional staff to address the increased workload and fund other costs associated with the printing and postage costs of between 1 and 685 new enrollees. Additionally, Finance notes that the fee revenues would not likely fully offset the program costs.
All right, that's Galgiani. 906 goes to suspense. Next is AB 983 by Mr. Perea, Safe Drinking Water State Fund. Safe Drinking Water, is there testimony? Vern, are you coming up for this already? You don't have to run. This is AB 983 on safe drinking water by Mr. Perea. Public testimony, pro or con?
Yes, Vern Gehring on behalf of Food and Water Watch, a national consumer interest organization, and also on behalf of many other supporters and sponsors that weren't able to be here today. This bill contains several technical changes in law to increase the likelihood that clean drinking water funds will be available to the least advantaged or less disadvantaged communities in our state. As your analysis points out, most of the direct costs can be absorbed by the implementing agency. There are some indirect costs. We just urge your support on the bill when the time comes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Debbie Davis, Environmental Justice Coalition for Water, in support of the bill.
Thank you. Next, please.
Reverend Lindy Ramsden with the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry Action Network, and we're in support of the bill.
Thank you. Next, please.
Christina Eyes with Sierra Club, California, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance?
Public Health estimates that the additional workload and costs associated with this measure would be absorbed within existing resources. However, the provisions allowing up to 100% of the project funding for disadvantaged communities could erode the revolving nature of the state drinking water safe state revolving fund.
So they make it expensive, but they don't want it to be. They don't want it. All right. That item Next is, that item goes to suspense, Mr. Perea, at 983. Next, we have Ms. Mitchell's AB 989, Mental Health and Children's Services. Is there public testimony on this bill? Come forward. This is AB 989 by Ms. Mitchell on mental health services for children. And please tell us your name.
Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project in support.
Any other testimony in favor? Any opposition? Finance, do you have a comment?
We believe that the bill would not have a fiscal impact on the state, as county costs for the plan development are already funded by the Mental Health Services Fund pursuant to the Mental Health Services Act.
All right. Members, that item goes to suspense. And the final item on which presentation has been waived is by the Speaker, Juvenile Offenders and Tattoos, AB 1122. Testimony in favor. Welcome.
Once again, Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project. I just want to add that for us, it's about rehabilitating our youth offenders so they can become a productive part of the society, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. That item goes to Finance first.
CalEM is scheduled to provide $300,000 in federal justice assistance grant funds in 2011-12 for the recently established pilot tattoo removal program. And according to CalEM staff, this program will go into effect January 2012.
All right, members, that's the last item on the file. We have some little stragglers in between here, but I need to tell the sergeant should be notifying Assemblymember Campos that she has a due pass item, 1401, and she has another item that she's supposed to be presenting. And we're going to go through the file one more time, then we're shutting down. So you need to alert her that she should come over right away. There are some other members who didn't send us letters on waiving presentation, but we'll just go ahead and assume that they wanted to waive presentation. That brings us to the top of page 3. The top of page 3, Mr. Alejo has two items, AB 898. This has to do with crime victims and restitutions and fines. Is there any public testimony on 898? Gentlemen, are you coming forward on this already? Then give us your name and position on the bill.
Members of the committee, Philip Ong on behalf of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. We represent the rape crisis centers here in the state. We're the sponsors of this bill. We applaud the staff for their excellent analysis that this bill is just a change consistent with the rate of inflation as set by the U.S. Department of Labor. We also want to point out that this is an important increase to help keep the long-term solvency of the restitution fund. I'd also like to point out that if the restitution fund goes insolvent, we are at risk of losing some more federal assistance that comes with matching state funds. So thank you.
We need to have a discussion with the author on this bill, sir, that involves how we prevent the changes that he's proposing here from crowding out the other funds that also are funded through fines, because you're putting this further up in the food chain, so to speak, in priority. We're not going to get into it here today. That's what we want to discuss when it's on suspense.
Okay.
That's why it is going to suspense. There's fiscal impacts on other groups besides your own. Sir?
And John Myers, I am with Victims Compensation Government Claims Board. For reasons as stated, we're in support of this bill.
Yeah, the same for you.
Yes.
we need
figure so.
We need to figure out what a fair balance is. And so, Finance, do you have a comment?
The increased fines could result in additional revenues of between $14 and $28 million. And due to the time delay between the imposition of the fines and the actual collection, the impact of the increase may not be fully realized until 2014-15. And we note that the restitution fund is projected to become insolvent by 2012-13.
Very good. All right. That is... without objection, then, Mr. Alejo's AB 98, I'm getting a little fried here, 898 is going to suspense. I see Assemblymember Campos is here. Welcome. So we'll go and take up your items. Thank you for coming over. You have two that have not, we took care of the one that you waived presentation on. So you have AB 848 and then 1401. So we'll start with 848. Apprenticeship programs.
848, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This bill would provide data identifying how each college provides credits for apprenticeship. This will allow for important improvements and uniformity in credit allocation. The collection and reporting of this data would be funded by existing allocations. I have Cesar Diaz here to testify on behalf of the State Building Trades and Construction.
We'll go to your witnesses.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. During any given year, there's approximately 55,000 apprentices in the building and construction trades. Each apprenticeship program must have a partnership with a local education agency, most of those being community colleges. Some of these programs have some very rigorous standards, education standards. What this bill will do is allow us the collection of the data to look at how we can standardize these credits and possibly offer, through their partnerships, college credit towards an AA degree once the apprentice journeys out and becomes a journey person worker. They can perhaps continue with their higher education and perhaps pursue a degree in engineering, architecture, or the other side of the construction industry. So we feel this bill is important to collect that data information, and for those reasons we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
That's my only witness today. Thank you.
Any other testimony? I think you have some opposition testimony here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senators Julianne Broyles here for Associated Builders and Contractors of California. We're opposing the bill on policy reasons and ask for no vote.
Ms. Campos, we'll go to Finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill could generate a Proposition 98 general fund cost pressure in the tens of thousands of dollars by imposing new data collection and reporting requirements to the local education agencies participating in the apprentice program.
All righty. I think while it's on suspense, we'll give the committee, Department of Finance, and the author a chance to work out what are some questions about the bill. So unless there's objections, seeing none.
And Madam Chair,
yes.
While it's on suspense, if there's an opportunity with an amendment, I'd love to be added as a co-author.
All righty. Staff will make a note of that if there are amendments. Anything else, members? Then this item goes to suspense, and we'll move on to AB 1401, and this is a due pass, members. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Campos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today I'm presenting AB 1401, which will provide efficiency in entertainment work permits for minors by allowing the labor commissioners to issue temporary work permits online. In addition to work permits issued by schools, children performers must have an entertainment work permit issued by the labor commissioner. Often parents will obtain an entertainment work permit prior to even taking their child to an audition, just in case their child lands a role. This results in an inefficient and expensive workload for the Labor Commissioner's office, who issue over 70,000 work permits a year, many times more than the number of the children working. Under AB 1401, parents would be able to apply online for a temporary permit that would be granted immediately. There is no cost to the state. This bill allows for the Labor Commissioner to set a fee for issuing the temporary permit in order to cover costs for the program. This permit is also tax deductible, so working actors can be reimbursed for their permit. AB 1401 is supported by the Screen Actors Guild. There is no opposition at this time. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, and I have a witness.
We'll go to your witness.
Tim Lynch on behalf of the Screen Actors Guild, and we're supporting the bill. We believe it better aligns workload and actual work conducted at the labor agency, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor or opposed? Any more testimony on the bill? Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
Yeah, Madam Chair, the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement indicates that the implementation of this bill would result in a one-time information technology cost of $150,000 to $175,000 for software to set up the IT systems. Additionally, the labor standards enforcement would require $187,000 to support 3.8 positions to process the applications and to issue the temporary permits. Any request for these additional expenditure authority would be subject to review and approval through the annual budget process.
Thank you. Again, members, this is a due pass. This special fund money, cost of the program will be more than paid for. All right, we have a motion. Motion from Senator Pavley. Any other comments or questions? The secretary will call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? No. Walters, no. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Emerson? Emerson, no. Liu? Aye. Liu, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Price? Runner? Steinberg?
4-2. We will keep that open for Senator Steinberg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campos. Mr. Alejo, you are our last presenter. We have already dispensed with AB 898. So if that went to suspense, if you want to make a comment on it, you're welcome to.
Hope for your support of that bill. Has strong bipartisan support when it's up to get off the suspense files. So
right.
Thank you. Thank you for having the hearing.
We had a
on
little
that.
discussion with your witnesses there on the fines, the way you have the bill structured. The new fines would sort of crowd out other programs that are also funded through fines. So we have to look at that a little more carefully.
Okay. Look forward to working with you on that, Madam Chair.
All righty. Next is AB 1221, State Water Quality Control. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, Madam Chair and members. It's hard to believe that California still struggles to deliver viable drinking and wastewater services to all of its residents. It is necessary to address the barriers that prevent projects from moving forward to remedy this problem, and for most of these communities, funding is the greatest impediment. That is why I'm pleased to author AB 1221, a bill that would allow disadvantaged communities and California-recognized tribes to be able to seek funding through the existing cleanup and abatement account for infrastructural projects that deliver safe drinking water and allow for responsible wastewater management. This bill is permissive and gives the State Water Resources Control Board discretion in granting the funds to projects with higher priority. The money will be concentrated in projects that are crucial to the watersheds of the state. As the analysis pointed out, we can expect a funding shift granted to local governments that are applying on behalf of non-for-profit organizations. It is also worth mentioning that by eliminating a public agency from having to apply for non-for-profit organizations, the state will save significantly on administrative costs that are usually incurred by the agencies. AB 1221 empowers local communities across California to take action and clean up their water. This bill has received strong bipartisan support, and with me today I have Debbie Davis, Policy Director of the Environmental Justice Coalition for Water, and others.
Good afternoon. My name is Debbie Davis, Environmental Justice Coalition for Water, and this bill would actually allow communities that currently don't have access to funding, and these are some of the communities in our state that have the greatest need to access funding so that they can do basic projects like fix their septic systems that benefit not only their own community but other communities that rely on the groundwater that they're currently unfortunately contaminating. The bill does not create any new costs to the state as far as the funding that's available. It's the same dollars. It just means that we'll prioritize it in a way that makes sure that the communities that need it the most get access to it. And so we hope that you'll vote aye on this bill when the time comes.
And Vern Gehring, on behalf of Food and Water Watch, a National Consumer Interest Organization, also strongly support the bill. Thank you.
I'm Reverend Lindy Ramsden with the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry Action Network. We're also in strong support of the bill and is an increasingly large faith coalition coming forward in support.
Next, please.
Christina Ives with Sierra Club California, and we support this bill. Thank you.
All righty. Any other testimony in favor? Is there any opposition? Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
The fiscal impact to the State Water Board would be minor and absorbable, and the bill may result in cost pressures of unknown magnitude depending on the number of eligible not-for-profit organizations or tribes that would request financial assistance if it was a bill.
All righty. All righty. We have a little, in our analysis, unknown cost pressures are acknowledged, so we believe it is a candidate for suspense. We'd like to work with you while it's there. If there's no objections, members, then we'll move the item to suspense.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and ask for your support when it's taken up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alejo. Appreciate you coming over. All right, members, I think, let's see where we're at now. I'll give you a little update, and we'll go through it one more time. Senator Price coming? All right, members, we are going to go down the roll. We have Members, only 9 bills that are outstanding, still open. And I hope I have them in numerical order. First is AB 420, Davis. The chair is aye, the vice chair is no. I've got them out of order already.
It's okay.
The secretary will call the roll.
Lou?
The chair voted aye?
Yes.
Aye.
Lou, aye. Steinberg?
That is 5-3, yes. Next is, you have SB 335, Mr. Hernandez, Dr. Hernandez. This is, the chair is aye. The vice chair is not voting. Call the absent members.
Walters? Emerson? Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Price? Runner? Steinberg?
All righty, that bill is out. All righty, now we're at AB 172 by Mr. Eng. Vice chair, or chair is aye, vice chair is no.
Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Steinberg?
5-3, that bill is out. AB 293 by Mr. Hill. Chair is aye, vice chair is no. Call the absent members.
Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Steinberg?
5-3, that bill is out. AB 604 by Skinner. The chair was absent, but she'll be voting aye. Vice chair is no. Call the absent members.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Steinberg?
5-3, that bill is out. Hold on, Senator Steinberg? And Senator Price already voted on that. Okay, good. Now we're at AB 436, Solorio. Chair is aye, vice chair is no. Call the absent members.
Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
6-3, that bill is out. Next is Mr. Chesbro, AB 528. The chair was absent. She'll be voting aye. The vice chair is no. Secretary will call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
6-3, that bill is out. Next is AB 674 by Assemblymember Bonilla. Chair is aye, vice chair is no. Secretary will call the roll. Call the absent members.
I don't have a vote for you.
You don't have a vote for any of them? You don't have a vote for me? Bob must have gotten carried away. The chair wants to be aye. Should I put it like that?
Kehoe?
Aye.
Aye. Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
8-1. That bill is out. Next and last is Assemblymember Campos, AB 1401. The chair is aye. The vice chair is no. Call the roll, please.
Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
6-2, that bill is out. And then Senator Steinberg, there's a few you can add on to, but the rest of the business is closed.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. So Senate Appropriations is adjourned.